Hi guys.
Cool.
I hope you guys are doing good. We're so excited and thank you for having us. I'm Mindy and I'm the creative director of I Love Creative Studio.
I'm Sarah. I'm the art director of I Love Creatives and I Love Creative Studio.
Yeah, and we're basically just gonna walk through tips on how to create the best online portfolio. So let's dive in. So I Love Creatives.
Yeah, so a little bit about I Love Creatives. We do a ton of different things. The main thing is we create like creative courses. So for example, Mindy and I worked on creating the graphic design course recently, which is now live. And we also have a Squarespace design course, a copywriting course, Instagram course. We do a lot of like educational things. And we also have creative profiles where you can create a profile on our website to just like promote yourself as a freelancer or, whatever you do. We also have a job board, ad board. You should definitely sign up for our weekly newsletter because you just get an email every Wednesday. It's creative jobs, creative happenings. And we also do like creative resources. So we're just kind of like a catch-all, like creative company. But yeah, our main drivers are forces, and we just really believe in edutainment, which is the combination of education and entertainment. And yeah, and then we have I Love Creative Studio, which is our design studio.
Mm-hmm. And the design studio, it basically stemmed from us having all of these amazing creatives and then all of these new students that were coming out of the courses, like the Squarespace design course, the Instagram, and now the graphic design one. And we have all these amazing students that are so talented, and we just want to kind of give them real life experience and be able to create amazing work that they enjoy. And so we pretty much do anything from like branding to web design, packaging, and we've worked with clients like recently Paris Hilton for her new tracksuit line, like Y2K era, the like juicy couture tracksuit kind of thing. And that was a super exciting one. And then we've even rebranded Girl Boss, worked with Kristen S. Hair for her website and a few others. So we've kind of stem all over the place in terms of like industry and all of that. But I think our main thing is just really creating work that's fun and approachable, and connects people. So yeah.
Yeah. So jumping into how to like create your online portfolio, and this really goes for any industry, whether you're a graphic designer, you're a copywriter, 3D artist, animator. We love to start with just like manifesting your direction before you even begin to create work. So we created like this little template here, and it's basically like Mad Libs format where you can just dream up like your ideal work life and write it down, like keep it in a notebook or on your computer. And it's something you can like always come back to when you're navigating like work, whether you're a freelancer or, applying to jobs or anything. So you start to the blank, like your name is and then your dream title in location, or you could say like your dream is to work remote. And then you want to fill in what you're focused on, like what types of projects you would want to focus on. So just getting like really specific with the kind of work you want to do. And then you would want to write about your dream clients. So talking about yourself, you would say their most recent clients include, and then write out a list of like all your dream clients. And you can really like dream big with this, or you could think about like local brands that you would love to work with. It can be like any scale, but it's a great way to kind of just really manifest who you want to be. And it's something I did when I first started out too. And I just like had it on a piece of paper and I taped it to the wall next to my computer, and it definitely felt goofy a little bit, but it was such a good thing to like come back to and remind myself like, no, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. This is the kind of work I want to do. And I don't know, it just like really helped guide me. So you could also at the bottom here, like write, or they're currently like, and write out like a dream position if you wanted to work for a specific brand or company, and just have that like one client to work towards working for. So yeah, it's a really great way to just like manifest your direction before you even get started, just to have something clear.
Yeah, exactly. Like think of it as your North Star. And as you kind of progress and learn what you like and what you don't like, and just like learn who you are as a designer, of course, this is going to change too. And at least like you can kind of always look back at this and be like, okay, I reached that goal. And then now you can like figure out, okay, what other type of projects, what other dream clients. So this is always like a good template to have. Okay, so hot tip, do the work that you want to attract. So if you're starting out and you don't know what you want to do, it's okay. You can try everything and learn what kind of work you're most inspired by. It's totally fine to like take whatever job kind of comes your way. You're always going to like get some sort of like good lesson out of that, even if it's something that you didn't like, okay, I definitely don't want to do like UI UX, then at least you know that you can kind of like cross that off your list. And once you figure that out, like try to stick to it. The goal is to only include the type of work that you want to be doing in your portfolio. So let's say you ended up doing a lot of UI UX stuff and you're not so into it, you want to do like branding stuff, then I would definitely recommend just keeping only branding work that you have, and kind of just like leave that UI UX stuff. Of course, it's, you know, very relevant. You're going to carry whatever lessons that you like learned from that into branding, but you definitely want to show what's relevant.
Yeah, so if you don't have any work yet, like you can definitely just take this time to like, again, write everything out, like take the time to figure out what exactly the type of work is you want to be doing. And it really is all about quality over quantity. So it's better to have a portfolio with like 2 to 3 really good projects than a bunch that you're meh about. But it's also totally fine to say yes to projects that aren't the most inspiring if you are doing it like for money. And that's all good. They just don't need to end up in your portfolio if it's not the type of work that you want to keep doing. So yeah, I think it's just a super important thing. Like, don't have any piece in your portfolio that you wouldn't want to do again. And if you do currently already have work in your field, do an audit of that existing work and then just do the same sort of logic. So if it was a project you did a year ago and you really loved it and it's the same sort of client you would love to have again in the future, include it. If it's a project you did a year ago and you hated it and it was like, for something that you're totally not interested in, or you were like a UX, like Mindy saying, like you were a UX designer on it, but you really wanted to be like an art director on it, like don't include that in your portfolio. Like it's better to have less projects, but have them be really focused on exactly the skills that you want to do, like want to use more of. Yeah, exactly like the example here. So yeah.
Yeah, and then just to have like a simple flow chart that you can kind of gauge each project. So ask yourself, are you proud of this project? Maybe yes, you are. And then, you know, do you want to do more stuff like this? Yes, then definitely like include it, let it shine, put it in your portfolio. And then going back, if you aren't proud of the project, then no, just straight up don't put it in there. You can always, you know, at least you have that like in an archive or something just for your personal records. But like, if it's not stuff that you want to be doing, then yeah, just leave it up.
So once you have a good audit of like your existing work or a clear direction of the work that you do want to create, now it's time to create your new work. And the new work that you create can be spec work, which is just speculative. So it could be a passion project, or it could be real work, like with a real client. And both are really valid when you're first starting out with your portfolio. It's best to have a mix of both, but when you are seriously like making the jump into something new that you've never done before, you obviously like need to do spec work to get that first real project, and that's totally fine. So passion projects, it's like you create your own brief, like you really can dream up, you know, your dream client, your dream project for that client. like it could be for a real brand, but you could also just dream up anything and have these projects just really speak to your design style, your values, the tools and techniques you want to work with, and you really have full control over it. So yeah, and a good tip here is like try to stay away from the typical Nike or big brand redesigns. It's just, yeah, the industry is super saturated with those, and it's better to identify something more niche that you're really interested in, and like branding your local cheese shop or wine shop or a sustainable hair care line. Like when I was making my first portfolio, I did I made up a fragrance brand, I made up a hotel that I wanted to do branding for, and I made up a soap company. Actually, those are like my three, and I just fully went into them. I rolled them out completely. I did brand identity, the packaging, like everything for it. And they were the three pieces that I showed to like my first client, and it helped me get that job. So then also you want to create real work, of course. So once you do land that first client, just make sure you're really aligned with them in terms of your values, embrace the challenges that come with a real client. Like not everything's going to be perfectly aligned, but that's okay. I think the challenges of working with a real client is they're all just great learning experiences. And then when you show real work to people who want to see your portfolio, you can talk about those challenges too. And that really strengthens like your credibility as a designer and as a problem solver. So with real projects as well, like it's okay to say yes to unpaid projects if the client and the project is in line with your values and the type of work you want to do, especially if you're just starting out. So like my first two projects were completely unpaid, but I really loved like the vision that my clients had for it. And I knew that they would be two really strong pieces in my portfolio. So I said yes. I didn't get paid, but I like did my best, and then it ended up being great real work for my portfolio. And like I said earlier, it's all good if you do say yes to paid projects that aren't inspiring, or maybe they just turn out like not the way you intended. It's all good to do it for the money and just leave it out of your portfolio.
Yeah. Okay. So next up, design your portfolio. That's also the fun part, but also a really hard part, because sometimes you can kind of be like your own worst client where you're like, oh my God, like I want to try this, but I also want to try a different direction. I want to try like chunky fonts, but then I also want to try elegant ones. You can totally get stuck forever, but like remember that you want to make sure that your branding feels like you, and don't stress it. And another thing, if you don't have too many projects to include in your portfolio, you can definitely like consider this as one of your projects and like go off and be your own client, create your own brand identity, create a logo, pick a color palette, font combinations, like treat this as its own like design exercise. But of course, definitely be mindful of like how much you're designing the entire thing. You don't want to like over design it and kind of like have your brand identity fight with the actual work that you're trying to show. You want to make it an easy user experience where the people that you're trying to attract, your clients, can actually like see the work that you do. And then of course, just don't overthink it. Remember, you are a work in progress, and so is your portfolio, so is your work. You can always change it. You're always evolving. So yeah.
Yes. And then lastly, publish it. Like just make sure that when you're first starting with your online portfolio, you literally might have like 6 different versions of it published within the first 6 months. And that's totally fine. Like, I think it's better to keep publishing, keep iterating, keep updating than to like totally not have anything out there for like a year while you're working on it and lose out on, real work and networking and the ability to like send it around and talk about it and get feedback. So get it to a place that you feel good about. And it's totally okay if you still have doubts about your portfolio and it's not perfect. Because I think as like creatives, we just all have like really high standards. There's a lot of people we look up to. We want to be at the highest level before we publish anything. And it's just like, it's really not realistic, and that's totally normal. And I think it's just way better to like publish your website as, you know, as many times as you can. And then you look back in a few years and you're like, oh my gosh, look at all the growth that I had. So it's good practice to like set yourself a hard publish date to go live and then really stick with it. Put it in your calendar. And like, even if you publish it, say you publish it in January, even if you feel like it's not totally ready, and then, you know, if you feel good about it enough to like send it out to people, that's great. And then, you know, in 6 months, when you keep updating it, you also have another reason to email them again. Be like, hey, I just updated my portfolio. Would love for you to take a look at it. So I think it's great to just keep iterating if you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. So portfolio stages. So let's say you are just starting out, you don't have any clients yet or real work that's aligned with your new direction. So you have like 3 spec projects that you create, and definitely like try to make them as, you know, wide variety as possible. So let's say you do branding for like the local cheese shop, or you do website design for a fragrance brand, or you do the packaging for a soap brand. That way you have like a large kind of like skill set that you can show through those projects. And then stage 2, let's say you've had your first client, congrats. And it's a project that you love. So you include that in your portfolio. Maybe you take out one of the spec projects. And then stage 3, you're a few client projects deep, the referrals are coming in. And then now you're kind of like having like 60% real projects, 40% spec projects. You see where I'm going. Eventually, you're just going to have like all real projects, stage 4. You have a steady stream of projects that are aligning with your direction. You take out all of the spec work, and then now you have this like entirely just like robust set of real projects that you can like kind of choose from. And now you can kind of like prioritize which ones you're most proud of, or which ones kind of like show your full skill set.
So once you have all of your projects, whether they're 3 spec projects, 4 spec projects, or all real, you want to put them in a website. And I think like some people will say you need a PDF portfolio as a designer, but I think we feel like website is the best way to just show your work, whether you're a designer, copywriter, whatever. So you just want to take your projects and put them into a really clear website, keep it simple, use clean layouts, great typography, use some indicators of your personality, like maybe it's that personal branding that you worked in a little bit, but really let your projects do most of the work. Some website platforms we recommend would be like Squarespace, Cargo, Webflow, ReadyMag. They're super user-friendly. You don't need to know code. And yeah, they're a great way to just like showcase your work really quickly.
Right. So let's kind of break down a portfolio site. So header navigation, you want to include your name or your logo. You want to, you know, tell people whose website you're on, and then have main links in the navigation. So one that's going to the homepage, that could either be your name or your logo that's actually linking to the homepage rather than like literally saying home. And then you have work that goes to your work landing page that has all of your projects. And then about, you know where that goes, services, that just like kind of lists out your services. You can also combine that into your about page as well. And then a contact page, you want to make sure people know how to contact you, put a form or link it to an email address that you want to use, whatever. And then on your homepage, it's nice to include a kind of like manifesto or mission or just like general bio. So for example, with my personal one, mine says, Mindy Nguyen is an art director and designer living in sunny Los Angeles. Her goal is to collaborate with nice people and create intentional brands with them. In her free time, you can find her cooking and creating playlists to vibe to. So, you know, you want to include a little bit of like, you know, your personality in there. And then also on the homepage, you definitely want to make sure you have some like featured work on there. And that could be like your first like 3 projects or anything like that. Within those like project blocks, a good thing to include is the project title, a thumbnail or cover photo of it, the description of the project, and then maybe like the type of project. So whether that's like branding, website, packaging, all of the deliverables that you did. And then project page. So you definitely want to include the project title. Maybe that's like the actual, like what you did for the project or the actual client name. And then type of project. So like I was saying, the type of deliverables that you did. And then any additional credits. So let's say you worked with a copywriter or a photographer or an actual design studio and you were freelancing with them, anything like that. And then you want to include a description. So who was the client? What was the goal of the project? How did you achieve the goal? Like what was your design solution for it all? And what was your role in the project? So if it was a really large project that included, you know, a big team on it, then you definitely want to say like, okay, I art directed it. And then, you know, you worked and collaborated with a full team. And then, of course, you want to have images of each deliverable. So let's say it's a really large project that you did the branding, website, packaging. You want to include like a few images of each of those so that people can really see like the work that you did. And that way you can be proud of it and show it off. And of course, mock-ups are nice. So let's say you did some website design. It's super helpful to kind of see it like in situation. So mocking it up in a laptop or even like a mobile phone screen, that always kind of like helps elevate and puts the viewer in situation and can really visualize that work. And then process is something that's nice to have. So let's say you did branding, you did the logo, and you have so many amazing versions that you did. And so people love to see that kind of like behind the scenes look into all of the versions that you did, and they can really see like the full transformation of what you did. And then if you did like website design and there's actually like it's actually live on the internet, it's always nice to include like an external link to go to that website so that people can really like actually interact with it. So yeah.
And then a couple other pages you want to include in your website would be like an about page. So you want to have your bio, which is like states exactly like who you are, what you do. It can honestly, if you're just starting out, it can be similar to like that manifesting Mad Lib where you're like, you know, you might not have any graphic design projects yet, but you are a graphic designer. So you can write that, write the services you offer. Include a photo of yourself. It's great to like really, you know, put a face to the name and make it feel personal. Include social links if you want and any awards or write-ups. And then you can also include your experience. So it's kind of like a short little resume. And yeah, and then you have your contact page. So this is probably the most important page. Just like if people do want to work with you, you want to make it really easy for them to contact you. So an email would be great, or you could have a form where people have to enter like their own information to get like a quote or response from you. And then of course you want to have your footer, which is just reiterating your contact info and linking out to your socials.
Yeah. And then, okay, you have your amazing portfolio. Now, how do you share it? You know, it's going to live there, but then you want people to see it. So first, share it with your existing network. So whether that's like with email or Instagram. So like, let's say you did an internship, design internship, definitely like send it to the people that you worked with and be like, okay, look what I did. Look at, you know, all this amazing work that I have. Maybe you want to work with them again. Or Instagram, let's say you have a designer that you really admire or another studio or a client or anything like that. Like cold emailing and cold DMs are so important. And just like sharing your work, being like, hey, I'm a designer. I love like what you're doing. And here's my work, just in case there's, you know, any potential in working together in the future. And then it's okay if they don't reply or say like, no, thanks, don't take it personally. It might hurt a little bit, but it doesn't matter because eventually you're probably going to get someone that says like, yes, your work is amazing. And like, it's perfect for the vibe that I'm going for. So you never know. And then in case, they don't reply, you can always follow up within like 6 months. And especially if you have like updated work to share, you never know what could happen. It could have been a no like 6 months ago, but today, now that you have a few more projects up your sleeve, it could be a totally different story the next day. And then create a creative profile on I Love Creatives. That is the best way to just kind of like get your work out there. And also just like having that kind of like interview style with the Q&A, it really reveals like a lot of like your personality, your story, what you're interested in. So people like off the bat, they already can just kind of vet and be like, okay, I can definitely vibe with this person. And, I want to work with them. And then also another way is create a design Instagram account that's specifically for your own work so that you can connect with fellow designers. There's so many like amazing design communities out there. You just got to put yourself out there. And then another one is find someone busy that you look up to. So if you see another designer that you absolutely love their work and maybe you want to work with them, or maybe just see if they're kind of slammed and maybe want to refer work to someone else, you could be that person.
Yeah. And I put a key next to like work, like reaching out to fellow designers, because it's important to not see other designers or other people in your field as competition, but use them as resources, like become friendly, collaborate, reach out to just do a passion project with them. And you also just will start to be integrated into their network too. And it's just really great to like expand your network and the opportunity for more work through other people in your field.
Yeah, so that's it. That concludes our little presentation. Thank you so much. And remember, you've got this, and feel free to reach out with any questions, or even if you want us to take a look at your portfolio, we're happy to do that.
Yay. Thank you guys so much. That was great. I really like how you touched especially on how not everything needs to be perfect. And, you have to start somewhere, like, especially at the beginning of your career, when you touched on this, when you may not have everything and not have a lot to show, like, that's where everyone ended up at one point. So you just gotta kind of jump before you're ready. So I appreciate you really touching on that. I think that's really important. And yeah, we're gonna open this to a Q&A. You guys can either raise your hand using the little feature and I will ask you to unmute, or you can start posting questions in the chat. Friendly reminder, this is being recorded, so I will be posting this to our YouTube channel afterwards. I will make it so that participants' faces are not shown. Do not fret. Yes, if anyone has any questions, we can start diving in. And yeah. Okay, Cami, you want to go ahead?
Hi, thank you so much. So one question I had, you guys were saying about kind of cold outreach to potential clients. Do you use any kind of like tools to stay organized with that like potential cold call or cold meetup, especially if you want to follow up with them like a few months later, like potentially, more than just an Excel spreadsheet or something like that? Do you guys use anything to just keep up with who you've reached out to and like what their answer was and things like that?
Yeah, I would say Notion is definitely one of our like super tools. We use it for everything: project management, personal things, outreach. So it's kind of like an Excel spreadsheet, but just like kind of like on drugs, elevated. So you have like just like a column, row, all of that. And then we kind of just list, okay, what date did I reach out to them? Who was it? Links to their stuff, whatever method that we reached out to them. Like a kind of like just like text box to see like what happened with that. Did they reach out? Did they not respond? And then there's also like even a date that you can include like on your calendar. So let's say they didn't respond, then you can actually set a reminder of when to kind of like remind you, okay, in 6 months, maybe reach out to this person again. And then, yeah, there's also Streak on Gmail as well, so that you can actually like create like a funnel if you really want to go like deep into it and kind of like put people into different flows of like, okay, I reached out to them already. They responded and I'm talking to them, or they didn't respond, or like I'm
Or you
talking to
did talk
them,
to them,
booked
but
them,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it goes so deep. So if you want to go that intense, then like Streak is your friend.
Great question and great answer. I'm gonna combine two questions from the chat,
Yeah.
kind of retouching on passion projects and kind of picking that, and how do you go about that? Is that something that needs to be on brand with what you're doing, and just starting passion project end of things?
Yeah. So just like what types of passion projects should you do?
Yeah, it looks like we have, how do you get yourself to start a passion project? Can it be simple like a redesign or musicians?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I think your passion project should seriously just be like a, exactly what you want to do. Like if you are really into beauty and you're a graphic designer, like you should really brand a lipstick company or something like that and just get really specific. But yeah, if you're into music, like you should brand a festival and roll out like the posters and all that stuff. So yeah, I think the passion project part is honestly so fun. And you're going to look back at the time where you had the ultimate freedom and like you were creating all these passion projects and it was really speaking to you and you were finding yourself and finding your design style, and you're going to miss it eventually because you're going to have a lot of real work.
Yeah. This is like definitely one of the times where you're going to have like full creative control. You can do whatever you want. The client's not being like, can you make the logo bigger? Or I don't like purple.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get crazy stuff like that. So this is your time to like really just do whatever you want. And like, you're happy with it completely. And then in terms of like, just like being like diligent with like the process of it, I would say like treat it like a real project. So like, let's say like set a time in your calendar. Okay, in a week, I'm going to come up with like 5 different or 10 different logo concepts, or the next following week, I'm going to figure out what are the color palettes and type combinations that I can do, and like work yourself like towards those steps, like take little bites and just like give yourself little deadlines. And then by the end of it, you'll have a full project.
Yeah. I see one question that I want to answer. How do you explain a passion project to a potential employer in an interview? So like talking about your passion projects can feel weird because you're like, I was the client and I made all these decisions myself just because I want it to be pretty. But I think it's important to like, when you're doing the design, like really think about your design choices. So it's like, okay, yes, I really like it, like crazy swirly colors, but like why do I like it? Is it because this brand is like expressive and like, you know, like have it like really try to think about the design choices you make and like why you choose a logo that's like really simple, or you choose like, I don't know, you just have to try to put reason behind your design. And then when you're talking to an employer, like always be transparent that this is not a real project. This is a speculative project, but this is how I came up with it. This is why I did this logo. This is why I chose this typography. This is why I did it that way. And I think that is a great way to start.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, that is so important. That's like such a great thing that you brought up. And like definitely if you feel like you're like super stuck, I'm just going to do a little shout out to the graphic design course that we did. The section 2 portion of it, we go through an entire like create your dream project, figure out who your dream client is. We go through like our entire process of what we do at the studio. So filling out like a brand questionnaire for your dream project, doing a whole like strategy deck for it, so that way you can like make informed decisions for design. And then that way you're figuring out, okay, like this brand that I have is expressive, it's friendly, it's outgoing. So then that's why I'm choosing a like crazy, like bold font and like vibrant colors, for example. And so that way, when you are talking to an employer, you can be like, these are why I made these informed decisions. And it's not just because, yeah, I thought it looked cool.
Right.
Great. Let's go to Kaylee. You want to go next?
Hi, I guess I'm wondering, if you guys started working for agencies, how did you know it was time for you to like go off on your own? Or if you like, how did you also get into design? Like, how did you know design was for you?
Yeah. So I can start. So especially that first portion of the question is super relevant for me. So I first started like with design, just like throughout high school, middle school, I was like creating MySpace templates. I'm dating myself. But like I would do like HTML, Photoshop, like band posters and all that stuff just for like the fun of it for myself. And then I ended up going to design school. So like definitely traditional in that way. Graduated, ended up working like in tech, ad agencies, like traditional design studios, you name it. I was like trying it all. And after a while, I was like, okay, I think I want to go freelance. I want to be able to have like a little bit more like creative control and also just control over like my career and the type of work that I want to be doing. And I think there's so much like to learn just like throughout your own experience if you're really like managing the whole process. So the actual way that I really got into freelance was I ended up taking the Squarespace design course from I Love Creatives back in, I want to say it was 2017 or 2018. And from there, I actually like connected with Puno, the founder of I Love Creatives, and I was like, okay, I kind of want to go freelance. And she was like, oh, that's great because there's all of these clients that I like can't work with. I don't have the time to do it. And then she started like handing work my way. And then more students were graduating. And we were like, oh, what if we start a studio? And then I was doing more freelance stuff because of that. Once you kind of like start like manifesting that and like just like putting that intention out there and connecting yourself with people, eventually you're gonna get there. So yeah, that's kind of my journey.
Yeah. I think that's definitely like relatable to mine too, except I didn't go to design school and I started freelancing more out of just like necessity. I don't think I ever really chose to be a freelancer. I kind of feel like I just I was on like COVID hit and I was actually working in music and then I quit my job because I hated it. And then I was like, I didn't have a job and I was just like, okay, I need to figure something out really quick. So I went to school for advertising. So I knew like Photoshop. I wanted to be like an art director at an ad agency, which is different from graphic design, but I kind of knew Photoshop, kind of knew Illustrator. I was like, I think I can make a design portfolio. I think like I want to work in like a design studio or like add a brand and be a graphic designer. So I basically was creating a portfolio and trying to apply to jobs. And instead of getting a job, I was just getting clients. I was like, I guess I'm freelancing now. And then I really liked it. I was like, wow, I have autonomy over my schedule. I can say no to projects if I don't want to. And yeah, so, and then I met Puno, and similar story to Mindy, where like I met Puno, did the Squarespace design course, which changed my life. And like, I think that I Love Creative's courses are so great because they're really for people who want to make a transition or like totally like just do it full blown. Like it takes you through how to do it, and then how to make a sustainable living from doing the thing that you love. And it's just like sets you up for so much success. So yeah, they're great courses to just, make the jump into doing whatever you want.
I love that. I love hearing people's journey to like where they got today. It's always so different for creatives, especially anyone that's gone from like the freelance world, not or vice versa. It's like, how did I get here? Great question. From the chat we have, in terms of choosing pieces for your portfolio, would you recommend including stuff that you might not necessarily want to focus on in the future, but it shows diversity in your work or skill set?
Yeah, I would say maybe include like a couple of those projects if you want to definitely like show that range of what you can do. But like we were saying, like be very like curated with your work. And if there's, like we were saying, this is like the example, but if you have a bunch of UI UX projects, but you want to go into branding, you can definitely include like a couple of those, but definitely like don't make your portfolio all UI UX if like that's the only experience that you have, because then you're just going to keep attracting those clients or those like companies, and they're just going to think, okay, they're a UI UX designer, and like totally forget that you want to be doing branding.
Yeah, I would almost just say no, like try to practice like some selectivity and curation, and just don't even, like, I know Puno talks a lot about like she worked as a UX designer forever and was like on these crazy projects and like doing all these amazing UX projects, but when she wanted to switch to like web design, she straight up just didn't include them, and I think it served her well to just really focus on what she wants to do. Exactly.
Good answer. Harry, do you want to go next? You've been so patient.
Hello. So my question, I actually have two that I was hoping y'all could answer. Gosh, I forgot them. But so you mentioned something about making informed decisions surrounding design choices. Could you just go a little bit more in depth about that?
Yeah. I think like you just like design, when you're making design choices, it's like you could pull it back to like design theory and everything, but it's just like really about breaking down your brief and trying to figure out why you do the things you do when you design. I think like doing the brand questionnaire is really important, and also like don't just go on Pinterest, like definitely expand your horizons and like bring in things that are unexpected but have meaning, if that makes sense. So yeah, you just really want to, by being informed, I think it's just like giving meaning to the work that you do. And sometimes the meaning is just a feeling. Like it doesn't have to be so like literal and logical. It can just be like referencing this like vintage thing, or like really being intentional with like your references and your sourcing and like how things relate in design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely like to expand on that, like design is still a form of art, you know, like there, of course, there are things that you can be really strategic about, and I'll go into that in a second, but like design is still an organic process. And if there are things that like you're kind of like diving into and you're like, ooh, I like where this is going with like this infographic feel, so I'm just gonna like dive straight into that, like having that like kind of like inspiration, like that'll just kind of like show through your design. And like having that passion put towards it will just kind of be obvious to people and like connect to people. And then in terms of like being more strategic, I would say like definitely like distilling the goal of like whatever project that you're working on. Let's say it's like a fragrance brand and it's like you want it to be unisex and genderless. So you want to make sure that the design also feels that way. You don't want it to feel like too femme or too like mask. Like you want it to be like just like accessible to everyone. So in that way, with like colors or type, you're gonna make like informed decisions based on that. So, you know, you probably don't want to go like too like pastel, like pink color, and that way you can stay away from being too femme and like soft. But of course, like you can also like kind of explore like balancing certain things. So like exploring balancing like the femme elements and like more mask elements where it's like bolder, more like, I don't know, what's the word, like clean, I don't know,
Minimal.
black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cooler colors, colder colors. So there's definitely like ways that you can kind of like make those decisions based on like the target audience and what they're going to respond to.
Great question. Great
Okay.
answer.
So I had one more question. So writing a brief, do you have any tips for that? Because I've been very mystified by that process. I think it's a lot of overthinking, but like, what are your approaches to it?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of overthinking. Like we do it too. It's very hard to pick something and stick to it because you're like, oh no, I hate this. Oh no, this is stupid. Like you kind of just need to stick with a gut thing that you're excited about. Like in the graphic design course, like Mindy was saying, we have this brand questionnaire. So basically write down all these questions about your project, like, what is it? And what does it stand for? And who uses this? And answer those questions, and then you'll have something. So you can the process should be like question based. It's definitely hard to do it on your own, but if you can maybe even get a friend to help ask those questions, yeah, that could help.
Awesome. We'll be taking a few more questions. We'll go back to the chat. Meg, I really like this question. With the portfolio, is it better to have one kind of style with your work, or is it good to have various styles? If you're designing for one client, one project may be completely different from a vibe for another client or project.
Yeah, there's definitely arguments for both sides, I would say. If you have a style and that's just like what you really enjoy doing, like you're passionate about expressing yourself in that way and your work, then there's definitely like an argument to have like a definitive style. And that way, like if you really enjoy doing stuff like that, then that'll continue attracting people that want that style. But then on the other side of that, having that variety, like I would say I Love Creative Studios, like we definitely like have a variety of work, and we really try to like make things bespoke to like each client. So in that way, we really try to make sure like we're not just like honing ourselves into like one corner. That way we're really open to like what other clients are out there and what other like industries. We definitely don't want to like close ourselves off. So it's really just like a personal preference of what you think you want.
Yeah, when I was starting my spec projects, one was super minimal, like tan and like super minimal, and the other project I had was like so expressive, like rainbow colors, crazy fonts, all this stuff. And I think it's good to have variety starting out because you're also learning about yourself. And from those two spec projects, I got like really expressive clients, and then I also got like really minimal clients. And I did both of the projects, and I was like, you know what? I'm feeling like I am more of an expressive designer, and that's totally fine. But I also love the minimal work I did. So I think it's good to have variety to like learn about yourself too.
Definitely. Let's go to Emily. You've been very patient. Thank you.
Hey guys. So I wanted to ask, how do you guys kill like that really hypercritical thing? Like I will work on my portfolio, feel amazing about it, and then 3 days later be like, oh, I need to tear this to shreds.
Oh my gosh. I think we definitely like still struggle with this. That's always something that's going to be, in the back of our minds. But I say like, just always remember and like remind yourself to be kind to yourself. And then also like just the power of looking back at the work that you have done. And like if you look back at work like from like 5 years ago and you're like, oh, that was booty. But now like I'm creating like cool stuff. Like just, be kind to yourself. Of course, like being your own critic is good because you're always like being self-aware. You're kind of just like checking, am I doing the stuff that I want to be doing? And it's okay if you're not yet, but at least you're self-aware of like what that goal is. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, just always like look back and like be proud of yourself because that'll like hype you up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's probably a sign that you have really good taste. So it's a good thing. And it's very normal for your skills to not match your taste. Like that still, like we're still working with that, And yeah, so your skills will get there. Just be patient with yourself. And like we said earlier, like just keep publishing because like your taste is up here, your skills are here, and just like make those incremental jumps. And even if you're still like, I still hate this, it's not matching up yet, like just keep going because you're gonna eventually get there.
Cool, thanks y'all.
Let's do one more. Cariel, I'm sorry if I butchered your name.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you guys for putting this on. I wanted to know more about freelancing. I am about to graduate from a UX bootcamp, and they tell you all kinds of stuff about how to put your portfolio together, how to write your case studies. We spend so much time on that. We spend so much time on working on our resumes. They package it for us to apply to companies. And I'm just wondering, what can you help me figure out as far as going a freelancing route? Because I think that's what would make me the happiest. Like if you guys have resources or what you could share.
Yeah, I would definitely say put yourself on like ilovecreative's creative profile, and then that'll really just like put yourself out there to specific clients, like individual clients. That way you can like get a little bit more freelance work. And then I would say like reach out to like specific companies that you might want to work like at, and see if they have any freelance like projects or like freelance roles that you want.
Puno mentioned
definitely
something
network.
helpful too. Like even if you see a job posting for a UX designer, but you don't want to work on their internal team, you can always email them and be like, hey, I see you have this like vacancy in your team. Like I would love to freelance for you in the interim while you find that, you know, full-time role. And it could be a great way to just like start freelancing for companies, or at least just like meet the person that's hiring who might like you could freelance for in the, I don't know, at any other point. And also just like befriend other UX designers, befriend designers who need UX designers, like even just on Instagram, it's totally fine. And just try to build out your network of contemporaries that way.
And definitely try to like find UX communities as well. I know like specifically in LA, there's an LA design and dev Slack community. And I've seen like people just like posting in a specific channel of like, okay, here's all these like gigs that are open. Then definitely you can like just check out what they're posting on there and make some connections through that.
Well, thank you. I think that's a really great note to end on. Thank you everyone so much for these questions too. I know we didn't get to all of them, but like very insightful and amazing answers as well. You guys really covered a lot of ground. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just posting some links in the chat. It includes the newsletter you mentioned at the beginning that's out, their course directory as well. I'm also including the link to Luna's YouTube channel. We will be posting this afterwards, and my email if anyone needs it for anything. Thank you for those that are also sharing additional resources in the chat. I saw a lot of that, which is really awesome, and a lot of hype for some of the courses, including the Squarespace and graphic design course. So love to see that. And yes, thank you everyone so much. And thank you again to both of you for taking the time for this. You guys are amazing. And yes, I hope everyone has an amazing rest of your week.